Damian Blackwood was used to being untouchable. Billionaire, CEO, a man who controlled everything in his world. But when a ragged little boy grabbed his sleeve on the street, he had no idea that this one moment, this one child, was about to unravel a secret that would change his life forever. The evening streets of Manhattan were alive with movement, horns blaring, businessmen rushing, flashing billboards lighting up the night. Damian Blackwood strode down the sidewalk, his mind already on his next meeting. His security detail walked a few steps behind, ensuring no one got too close. Then, out of nowhere, a small hand grabbed his sleeve. Damian stopped. His bodyguards instantly moved in, but he held up a hand. The boy couldn't have been older than 10. Filthy clothes, bare feet on the cold pavement, eyes too sharp for someone so young. "Sir, please," the boy said, voice steady despite his trembling hands. "I need your help." Damian's jaw tightened. He had seen hundreds of beggars before, but something about this boy felt different. "You chose the wrong man to ask for money, kid," Damian said coldly. "I don't do handouts." The boy didn't flinch. He just smirked. "I don't need money," he said. "I need you." Damian narrowed his eyes. "Excuse me?" The boy took a slow breath, then whispered words that sent a chill down Damian's spine. "I know who you really are." Silence. Damian's heart pounded. What did this kid just say? Before he could react, the boy turned and ran into the night. Damian stood frozen as his security detail sprang into action, but the boy was too fast, disappearing into the alleyways like a ghost. His mind raced. Who was that child? And what the hell did he know? One thing was certain. This wasn't over. Damian stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the boy's words pressing against his chest. "I know who you really are." No one spoke to him like that. "Find him," he ordered, his voice sharp. His security team sprang into action, weaving through the crowds, scanning the alleys. But the boy had vanished, as if he had never been there at all. Damian clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. Who was he? A street kid? A runaway? A setup from a competitor trying to rattle him? Number this felt personal. His driver pulled up to the curb, the sleek black Rolls-Royce waiting. Damian slid inside, but his mind was still on that boy. By the time he reached his penthouse, he had already made up his mind. He needed answers. The next morning, Damian sat in his office, tapping a pen against his desk as his head of security, Grayson, stood before him. "We checked every street camera within a 2-block radius," Grayson said, setting a tablet on the desk. "It's like the kid just disappeared." Damian frowned, pulling the screen closer. The security footage played in front of him. He saw himself walking, saw the boy approach. And then just like that, the boy was gone. "That's impossible," Damian muttered. "No one vanishes like that." Grayson hesitated. "There's something else." Damian looked up. "What?" Grayson took a breath. "We ran facial recognition. Nothing in the system. No birth records. No missing child reports." Damian's pulse ticked up. That didn't make sense. "That's not all," Grayson continued. Before he disappeared, he made one stop. He tapped the screen and a new security clip played. The boy, just minutes after meeting Damian, was seen outside Blackwood Enterprises, standing there, watching, as if he had planned this. Damian leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. This wasn't some coincidence. The boy was connected to him, and Damian Blackwood never left loose ends. Damian's mind raced. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. The boy had sought him out. He had grabbed Damian's sleeve, spoken those chilling words, then disappeared, only to reappear outside Blackwood Enterprises. Why? "Find out everything you can," Damian ordered. "Someone, somewhere knows who he is. Money isn't an issue." Grayson nodded. "I'll have my team start digging. But there's something else." Damian tensed. What now? Grayson hesitated, then pulled out a small envelope. This was found near the entrance of the building. No cameras caught who left it. Damian took the envelope, his fingers tightening around the paper. It was old, too old for something left just last night. A strange, unsettling feeling crept over him. He tore it open. Inside was a single photograph. Damian's breath hitched. It was an old picture, a grainy black and white image of a hospital room, and in the crib, a newborn baby, his newborn self. Damian's vision blurred for a moment. This picture, no one should have it. It had been taken the day he was born, in a private facility, under security so tight that even his mother barely had access to it. And yet, here it was. His pulse pounded as he flipped the photo over. Handwritten in small, careful letters was a message. He's closer than you think. The room felt suddenly smaller, the walls closing in. Damian Blackwood wasn't easily rattled. But this shook him to his core. The boy wasn't just some beggar. He was someone Damian was meant to find, or worse, someone who was meant to find him. Damian stared at the photograph, his grip tightening. His mind screamed for logic, for an explanation, but there wasn't one. This was impossible. The only people who had access to this picture were either dead or sworn to secrecy. His mother had passed years ago. His father, well, the man had never been in his life to begin with. And yet, a boy on the streets had led him to this. Damian exhaled sharply and looked up at Grayson. Whoever left this knows too much. His voice was calm, but inside, a storm was brewing. Grayson nodded. We've already started looking into it. But sir, there's something else you need to see. He pulled out a second envelope and set it down. Damian hesitated before opening it. Inside was another photo. This time it wasn't of him. It was of the boy. Damian felt a chill crawl up his spine. The boy was younger in this picture, maybe 6 or 7, but there was no mistaking it. Same sharp eyes, same determined expression. But what mattered most wasn't the boy himself. It was the person holding him. Damian's entire body went rigid, because standing beside the boy, gripping his tiny hand, was a man Damian recognized instantly. His own father. The father he had never met. The father who had abandoned him before he could even remember his face. His heart pounded violently in his chest. The realization slammed into him all at once. This wasn't just some random street kid. This boy was his brother.